Gotta say, ad nauseum, not the deck expected this weekend, but we may be seeing some more of it. These players both at 8-0. The third 8-0 player we have as well, Zachary Rafis on Burn, also 8-0. He's on table 2 getting a pair down.
Yeah, deck very much in the same spirit of Janny's deck. A lot of overlap in individual cards as well. Of course, Lightning Bolt, Atarka's Command, Goblin Guides. So this is the Burning Tree Emissary Wild Nikado, very creature-heavy version instead of a spell-heavy version.
It's the kind of thing, though, if we've seen so much Infect in day 2, Zoo and Burn, both decks that have a lot of play against that.
Mm-hmm. Something you miss on Zoo, you don't have the Searing Blazes, but you have way more blockers, which can really pay dividends in that kind of matchup.
So, Janny on 6, he's on the play, starts out turn 1, Wild Nikado. Of course, we got some Expeditions, so I believe that's a Stomping Ground, but
it's either that or a Temple Garden. It's unclear.
Sleight of Hand is the play, though, for Jadin. Simian Spirit Guide, one option here. Depends just what he's looking for. Usually, I would say in general, if I'm playing Zoo and my opponent starts on Serum Visions, I don't like the matchup.
Any Serum Visions deck?
Most Serum Visions decks are combo decks. And as someone who just only plays combo decks, I don't lose to Zoo very much.
Fair. I think that Reckless Bushwhacker is a significant variable in that equation.
Yeah, it helps. Windswept Heath from Janny.
Sped up the clock. In particular, if you're a combo deck that does not have removal spells, you know, if your actual Storm, Pyromancer Ascension, potentially main deck Lightning Bolts and Grape Shots, you can make a lot more inroads on Zoo's board. Ad nauseum has to combo.
Yeah, it's not like a Valakut deck or a Storm where you just get to play Bolts and Angers and removal. This turn 1 Wild Nikado is just going to Lava Spike him every turn. This is, you know, it's 1 mana for a 9-point burn spell.
Right.
It's pretty great.
And Phyrexian on life is quite good in this sort of matchup. You're able to gain a ton of life that way. At least 10 the way that, I think actually at least 11 the way that the card is templated.
So we see a fetch for a Sacred Foundry from Janny. He's just going to swing though with Nikado. I think the question was, you know, were we going to see something like Burning Tree Bushwhacker? You know, if that happens, Zoo's definitely faster than Ad nauseum.
Right. 2 1-drops would be excellent on this turn as well.
Post-combat, looks like we have Burning Tree, Curd Ape, Wild Nikado. Okay, so it's not Bushwhacker, but it's really good.
How about 2 1-drops with a 2/2 kicker?
7 power of creature. Tap 2, put a 7 power into play.
Reasonable magic.
So next turn, he'll put Sam down to 7. But Pentad Prism means that Jadin could race, and that's what he's going to do.
Pentad Prism could also theoretically cast an Angel's Grace if a bunch of damage were to come through on this turn.
Pentad Prism, none of those cards that only does fair things. If I'm playing all this fast mana. A swing of 10 from Michael will drop Samuel down to 7. Atarka's Command. Wait, that's lethal.
I recommend Angel's Gracing.
Yeah, okay. So pumping the team. That is a 7-point burn spell. So yeah, 10 power in play. Atarka's Command is 3 to his face and pump the team. This is a swing of exactly 17 from Michael.
Pretty average start for the Zoo deck,
yeah,
wouldn't you say?
I mean, look at Samuel's hand. He's got Simian Spirit Guide, Phyrexian Unlife. Like, this was a good draw.
Yeah.
I think now what, he has to Slaughter Pact or something?
I think he does have an Angel's Grace, which should let him survive on a 1.
Spoils of the Vault for Samuel.
Or maybe he has to dig for an Angel's Grace.
Oh, yeah. That's so bad.
Yeah.
On the play, Samuel, I think, gets this game. Lotus Bloom, 1, 2, wow, okay.
Didn't have to pay too much life for that.
So he only pays 2 life to get Angel's Grace, but he loses the whole Pentad Prism and goes to 1. And with that happening, it's, you know, this is harder. Okay, he's not going to lose the game this turn, goes to 1. The Angels have spoken.
Now, he does have Phyrexian on life in hand, right?
That's another turn, but how's he going to cast the Ad nauseum if he keeps using all his white cards this way?
And all of his extra mana.
Yeah, he's staying alive, but, you know, he draws Lotus Bloom for the turn. That's way too slow.
So he buys a turn with the Unlife. He could potentially buy another turn with Angel's Grace.
Yeah,
he's able to
Lotus
chain
Bloom.
some of that stuff. He could theoretically get there. He has a Simian Spirit Guide to put him 1 turn faster for the ad nauseum.
See that die set to 3 on Lotus Bloom, just 3 seeming like an eternity this game. Back to Michael Janny. So, Unlife, we're going to get that one on screen. That one is one of the more confusing cards. You don't lose the game for having less than 0 life. As long as you have 0 or less life, all damage is dealt to you as though its source had infect.
And something to keep in mind, if damage is all dealt at the same time, this doesn't mean you go from 1 to 10 poison by taking 11 damage all at once.
Yeah, so what in this swing, Samuel will go to -9,
Right.
and then the next turn he'll start taking poison. Now, Michael still has 10 power exactly of creatures, so conveniently, when we get to poison, it is still a 1-turn clock.
Not bad.
Draws a land from Janny, so he's just going to play the board.
I recommend an attack.
Yeah, swing everything.
1 creature, 4 creatures. There's no
Yeah, it
wrong
doesn't
answer.
matter. Here's 1. Okay, Samuel goes to -1, and make it -3. But he doesn't lose.
Respecting Slaughter Pact.
You're right, that actually would be a great... If he only swung 1 creature, Slaughter Pact would be a huge blow. The land for Samuel. He did not remove a counter from Lotus Bloom. I think you're allowed to miss that.
I think you can.
Yeah.
That's
it
a
doesn't
bummer.
matter. He passes.
Well, if he can't survive this turn anyway, then it just doesn't matter. If he technically is able to... Well, no, Angel's Grace doesn't save you from being infected out.
Yeah, and he just
So
doesn't
yeah,
have
the
it.
unlife is not enough. He would have to have some way to stop himself from taking enough damage.
Game 1 goes to Michael, Janny, and Zoo. You know, it's not always as fast as these other attacks. Zoo's really interesting, right, where it's got these... It's really high variance on how fast the deck is.
Mm-hmm.
But that game, I mean, Michael had a turn 3 kill on the play. It's great.
Yeah. And that's just exactly what Burning Tree Emissary facilitates, especially if you're playing a deck that just has 0 removal spells. Those hands are excellent.
All right, well, let's go over to the sideboards. We'll start over at Samuel Jadin. He's now down a game, maybe looking to try to dodge his first loss of the tournament. He's got 3 Hercules Recalls, 4 Leyline of Sanctity, a Phyrexian Unlife, an Esper Charm, 2 Thoughtseize, a Slaughter Pact, 2 Spellskite, and 1 Pact of Negation.
There's almost nothing that you want to bring in here. There's a consideration for Slaughter Pact and Spellskite just as a blocker that could potentially eat a Lightning Bolt. Against a deck like Burn, Leyline of Sanctity is quite powerful. Against a deck like Zoo, there's really not that many targets. Janny's playing Burning Tree Emissaries, a bunch of 1-drops. The Leyline of Sanctity is really not worth a lot. So I'm thinking we're mostly looking at that Slaughter Pact, potentially these Spellskites.
Over on Janny's side of the board, 1 Grim Lavamancer, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Scavenging Ooze, 2 Deflecting Palm, 2 Stony Silence, 2 Destructive Revelry, 2 Thalia, and 3 copies of Lightning Helix. In the same vein, there's not that much sideboard for Michael.
No. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, is pretty powerful here. There's a lot of stuff that you're taxing with that.
Samuel has no creatures, so yeah, I mean, sure, that's pretty good.
Yep. And end of list? Stony Silence is fine.
Silence is fine. It actually is, there's enough artifact mana in Samuel's deck it could hit. Destructive Revelry in the same vein can do some damage. I don't think you want to try to Deflecting Palm the Lightning Storm.
Yeah, you're just going to get hit by Pact of Negation.
Right, he
They
draws
drew
his
all
whole
their
deck.
cards. Yeah, that's just a non-starter. The question is, if you bring in a bunch of stuff like Stony Silence and Destructive Revelry, you're just going to get beat by the ad nauseum with Simian Spirit Guide on time kind of hand.
Yeah. So keep it lean, keep your threats going. For the most part, that's going to be the recipe. I'll be interested to see if he uses Stony Silence actually here. There's the Pentad Prism and Lotus Bloom. While it's only 8 cards in Sam's deck, they are the cards that let him combo fast. They are among the most important ones. So, interesting. Players are going to get ready for a second game here, trying to get to that title of 9-0. One thing, we at the beginning of December, just a month and a half away, we have the last invitational here of 2016. It's December 2nd through 4th in Atlanta, our Season 3 invitational, standard and modern. Now, if the top 8 of all of our opens qualifies for that, but if you want to go ahead and join us in December, you can also play our invitational qualifier series. So in fall of 2016, we are having IQs all over the country with lots of exclusive prizes. First of all, we have that qualification. You get a pin for top 8ing. You get the invitational winner tokens. You see Liam Lonergan, Max McVitie. You get vouchers for SCG Premium, and of course you get the playmat. This playmat is exclusive to the event. It's the Brass Jaw playmat by Kristen Plesko. You can find out where to go and what stores are hosting them. StarCityGames.com/IQ. You see that on the screen. That will set you up. We have those listed every week on the website.
It's a slick-looking playmat. I wouldn't mind having one of those. Really just Kaladesh-style art. It's all excellent.
This guy is smashing some Thopter thing. Take that, robot.
Some kind of robot. Robots are by default the bad guys. Even when they're the good guys, something's going to happen.
It's because they have no souls, Ryan.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
Gotta fight the good fight. Sam Jadin on the play. And I said before with that game, were he on the play, I think he could have raced the Zoo deck.
Yeah.
You know, Pentad Prism and Spirit Guide in the opener.
These two,
I like those hands.
These two decks are not trying to interact with one another, so play draw just matters a ton more.
Sounds great to me.
There's just actual no spells. Like the only technical interaction is Jadin's going to fog and Phyrexian on life.
Yeah.
Quote, interaction.
Let's see I'm going to do the biggest, best thing I can do, and if I built my deck correct, it's better than the thing you can do.
Yep. Matthias Hunt style magic.
I bet I can break it harder. Let's try. let's see if I'm right. Sometimes we're not, and then it's a bad matchup.
Janny taking a mulligan here. It's unfortunate for this creature-heavy deck. Just needs to get a high threshold of power on the table very quickly. That's how he wins this match.
Yeah, maybe his most important card in the matchup is Burning Tree Emissary. It's a 0-mana creature, and it's not just a 2/2 for 0. It also scales with 2 of the other cards in the deck. Both Reckless Bushwhacker and Atarka's Command, cards that are pumps in addition to dealing damage, scale with it. So that is what he's looking for. I think Wild Cattle. Well, actually, any of the 1-drops doesn't really matter its name.
And his clock, we saw him Burning Tree Emissary, 1-drop, 1-drop, and ended up closing the game exactly on the turn that he did close the game. Unclear if Jadin could have drawn out of it, but at any rate, anytime you close something on an exact frame.
The Atarka's Command was pretty great, especially with that draw just really lining up.
And he forced the Angel's Grace on that turn as well.
Yeah, I mean, he got all the Pentad Prism mana. He forced the spoils of the vault. If Sam untaps even at 1, he can just Angel's Grace, spoils, go get some card. Like, you know, maybe there's still outs here. You know, names ad nauseum.
Yeah, it could have been a very different game. You reverse play draw, just remove the Burning Tree Emissary.
And cut here. Michael on a mulligan.
Yeah, and we're down to 5 here. And there's some kind of issue, a judge being called here. We'll let you know when we have the details on exactly what's happening.
Yeah, there has been a judge ruling, so the game is currently suspended. We're going to bring you back into the booth here. Matthias Hunt and Ryan Overturf, the last round here, the Swiss in SCG, the Milwaukee Open here in Modern. So we're looking, we'll see exactly what's going to happen. Right now we have Michael Janny down a game to Samuel, or up a game on Samuel Jadin. Zoo 1 match away from 9-0.
And when you're up a game in this sort of matchup, these decks are just trying to race, and it's not clear that one deck is necessarily faster. On a good draw, I would reckon that Zoo probably has a faster clock on average. And I could be wrong on this. These decks fight from such different angles.
You might be right. Against actual no interaction, Zoo is as fast as the Infect decks. It's really good, and I think that's one of the strengths of it.
And when you think about playing a controlling deck against either of these decks, one of them, their combo turn for the aggressive deck, a little strong of a turn. It's going to look a little bit different when they're playing against that interaction, but when they're just goldfishing, Ad Nauseam is really trying to be a turn 4 deck on the button. Lotus Bloom on turn 1 on the suspend, combo on turn 4.
There's this whole class of combo decks that are medium speed but interact on strange axes. So I think Ad Nauseam, Valakut actually is the same kind of deck. It wins on turn 4, but it does it using land drops. You know, this wins on turn 4, but does it using just the stack, right? One spell and some Pact of Negations. It's trying to blank a lot of your ways to interact.
Yes.
There are other types of decks, proactive decks, Zoo, Infect. They win faster, but their downside is their method of winning is much more disruptible. There's a lot of stuff that can go on with it. But when they play, you know, in general, these like Zoo decks, these Infect decks, these Death Shadow decks, they're better against these other combo decks because sure, creatures are easier to kill, but Samuel has no kill spells in his 75, so that doesn't really matter. Yeah,
the issues that slow down the Zoo deck are, of course, when it has to mulligan or has a threat light hand, or a bunch of removal spells.
Yeah, so sometimes the slow combo deck can actually still be favored here because even sometimes slow combo decks have extra space for interaction. So like a Valakut deck's actually pretty reasonable against Zoo because it's got Angers and Lightning Bolts. So while it yes, it's a turn slower, but if in that extra turn it casts an Anger of the Gods, you know, maybe that's just fine.
And Ad Nauseam has this incidental interaction.
It has the fact that its combo piece of Angel's Grace and Phyrexian Unlife is a fog sometimes is its form of interaction. That can be pretty hit or miss.
Yeah. It bought him some turns in that game, obviously not enough to actually convert a win.
It bought him some turns, but it cost him mana, which when you're a ritual deck is kind of a turn.
Yeah, I mean, he was dead on that turn.
Right. I mean, so like that said, the play draw thing is that were he on the play, Samuel would have cast Angel's Grace just by tapping a land. He wouldn't have had to burn through the Pentad Prism. Remember, he had to spoils for the Angel's Grace and then cast it, cashing in both his Pentad Prism charge counters. And that's a huge loss for the deck.
Yeah, very significant there. And against when you look at the other creature decks that are trying to clock really quickly, like the combo S, you say
Death
like
Shadow,
Death Shadow, Infect, Burn, Zoo, any of these decks against each other, blocking is a very real mechanic.
Yeah, those decks are all within a turn of each other. So then the matchups get really interesting, you know, where like Burn tends to be okay against Infect, but and actually Burn's like one of the better ones in these. You know, it's good kind of against Death Shadow, but then Death Shadow tends to be pretty reasonable against Zoo. And then you have to start looking at the interactive cards and saying, okay, who gets who if we play our game plan?
But then when you just run up Ad Nauseam against any of them,
boom, let's see what happens.
You get specifically disadvantaged against Infect because poison counters are better against you than damage.
Yeah, your Phyrexian Unlife's actually just not a card, so that stings. Angel's Grace isn't your interactive cards, your 2 fogs don't work.
Against a creature-heavy hand, you would probably rather your opponent was Zoo than Burn, because Burn is more capable of killing you on the stack, their turn, your turn. So you can't Angel's Grace go to my turn unless you have the combo on the following turn. You could end up blowing an Angel's Grace that you need to combo. Yeah,
Burn is a little slower than Zoo actually, which is I think one of the reasons I might as Ad Nauseam want to play against Burn instead.
Sure, it's specifically when Burn has Goblin Guide Swiftspear. Those specific draws.
Yeah, there's. So we actually have a judge's ruling here. So what happened here was that during the game, there was found that there were cards in Michael Janny's deck box that were not part of his deck. This is something that I think a lot of times when you come out and play an FNM, you know, that's fine. Doesn't really matter. But at a tournament of this level, the only cards you're allowed to have in your box are the 75 you registered. So it was not determined that he was trying to cheat. You know, the cards are pretty clearly not in his deck. But the penalty for Magic cards and not on your list in your deck box is a deck registration error.
Format legal cards.
Yes, format legal cards.
You could have a Black Lotus in your deck box for good luck or whatever.
Right, but you can't have, say, oh yeah, there's these 2 cards I'm loaning my friend for his standard deck tomorrow.
That's a no-go. It's a non-starter.
So the penalty for that, because it's not dishonest, but it is against the rules. It is a game loss was assessed to Michael Janny. So we're going to bring you back to the match. The players will be shuffling up for game 3. It's treated just like Michael lost game 2, so he gets to choose play or draw for game 3. The score is now 1-1. Michael, of course, going to choose to play.
Naturally. And we saw him mulliganing to 5 before this was issued. Pretty likely that he was going to get a loss in that game anyway.
We'll just say it's fine. We'll say it's fine.
We're just fast-forwarding, really.
Yeah. Bring you back into the match. Now, the round clock for players is frozen at the moment here. They will restart on game 3 as it's still paused. That's how we come back from a judge call. Yeah, it's up a game, you know. These deck reg game losses, I think, have happened to all of us at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I certainly have gotten them. You hope when it happens that it does not cost you a match. And Michael's in the fortunate position where he could still be 9-0. And once they, once that penalty's assessed, then he's in the clear. They don't happen again. Doesn't happen again.
Had it happened to me twice, cost me the match both times.
Well, you should just win 2-0 more often, I guess.
Hey, you're not wrong. It's certainly my fault. I mean, I did something to get a game loss.
All right, we are underway. Game number 3, Janny versus Jadin. For Michael, starts out on the Shockland into Goblin Guide. He's going to have a fast start again. Goblin Guide shows, draws Temple of Silence for Samuel Jadin. Both players now at 18.
Goblin Guide, great start for Janny here. And starting on these tap lands, the Temples, this is really one of maybe 2 modern decks that actually take advantage of these.
Samuel plays 5.
Yeah, and the card selection here, very important for this deck that wants to draw very specific cards.
Scry the bottom and passes. I'm going to hold here. Samuel on 8 cards is going to have to discard here, unless he mulliganed. Going to check here, because he did get an extra card off Goblin Guide. Okay. He mulliganed to 6, so great. Undid the mulligan, I guess.
Got him. Scry that land to the top on purpose. Gonna draw this one.
That's interesting when you're on a mulligan against a Goblin Guide deck. I'm inclined to keep a land on top because I'll be like, yeah, that might just be free. Janny's going to swing again with Goblin Guide. This time it shows Simeon's Spirit Guide on top of Samuel's deck.
Mana Source, not a land. That one stays on top.
Yeah, better than a land, though. Mostly.
Not when you're getting attacked by Goblin Guide, but I see your point.
Actually, I still... No, it might even be... this is a great draw. Simeon's Spirit Guide is just a great card. It's 0 mana Rampant Growth.
Yeah, wants to use 1 to be able to cast the Ad Nauseam/Angel's Grace. Wants to have the other 3 as leftovers.
If you only are ever going to cast 1 spell all game, then it's just a 0 mana Rampant Growth. It's just like the best card. It's a Mox.
Yep, it's pretty broken.
Second land for Michael. Now he's going to follow up with some more creatures. He's got 2 Goblin Guides. Can't play them both, though, because of that shock land. He passes, and that's where Blood Crypt's actually really hurting him here.
Yeah, just 1 wild Nacatl entering the fray here.
Huh. If he had... Yeah, there's this thing where if he had started on Stomping Ground, fetch for Stomping Ground, he could have gotten all of these into play quicker. But I guess the Nacatl's only a 2/2, so he'd be losing a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Swing here from Michael. It's only for 4. Nacatl's a 2/2. The play for Samuel was a storage land. Shows another Spirit Guide on top of his deck. This is actually a concern if you're a Zoo player that he's drawing so many of these. Correction here. Actually, okay, no, it is a 3/3. That is Sacred Foundry. Clearly.
I love Expeditions.
Okay. Here's takes 2. Casts Stony Silence. We wondered if he would bring it in. He did. And here's another Wild Nacatl.
Interestingly, if Jadin had a Pentad Prism, obviously Dreadship Reef does not facilitate casting it, but it's looking like that Stony Silence is functioning as more of a mulligan than a hate card.
Yeah, Samuel's fast mana this game is the 2 copies of Simeon's Spirit Guide he's drawn.
And this Dreadship Reef is sort of time walk as far as mana development.
Dark Slick Shores pass. He is 1 turn away. He's got Angel's Grace and Ad Nauseam in hand. Gotta watch out, though. He's at 11, and there's 8 power in play for Michael. So 1 Lightning Bolt. There's a lot of cards here that can do it. Land. He's only got 2 more in hand, though. If he cannot present lethal this turn, Samuel is going to win. Top cards for Phyrexian Unlife.
It's a good one.
Samuel goes down to 3. Yes, okay. Can Michael kill him?
Janny has 2 burn spells.
And we have Gore Clan Rampager being blood rushed. So, okay. That will be lethal. Samuel's going to have to do something.
Recommend Angel's Grace. Does have it in hand.
Well, if he has Slaughter Pact too, he has an actual decision.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
I think he has both, Grace and Slaughter Pact. Yeah, Grace, Spirit Guide, Slaughter Pact, Ad Nauseam. This is, if it's Slaughter Pact, he also wins. He upkeep Angel's Graces, doesn't pay for his pact, plays a land, pitches 2 Spirit Guides, casts Ad Nauseam, wins game.
Yeah, and then he just finds an untapped land off of that and can get to the requisite 3.
Yeah, so he's going to Angel's Grace, so he goes to 1. So maybe not Slaughter Pact. We'll see here. Samuel down to 1. Stores up. Okay, goes for the ramp. Stores up again on Dreadship Reef. That means he should have enough mana here to go for this. You see Phyrexian Unlife. He's got 4 mana in play. 5, 6 with the Spirit Guides. 7 with if he has an untapped land. But he does not. He has a tapped land. It's a Temple. Serum Visions is the top card. Does he have time to cast it? He decides no. Goes on the bottom. Gonna tap 4, play Phyrexian Unlife. Tap 3, rather.
And if Janny had a Lightning Bolt, he would have cast it earlier in this turn.
Curd Ape, the last card in Janny's hand. So Samuel will get another turn. It's gonna be at 8 poison. No, he's just gonna go to a big negative number here.
He sandbagged this Curd Ape.
Doesn't matter because Sam's still at 1. I guess if Samuel top decks a burn spell.
Yeah, if he top decks Bolt, that would have been lethal with the Curd Ape in play.
Well, that could punish him. Draw by Michael Janny. We know he has Curd Ape. He's got 1 more in hand. But does it do anything?
Clutching those cards tight.
Don't think so.
If it's a Tarkus command, he's still lethal this turn. Because he can pump the team and do the 3 damage, get him into the unlife range just by the resolution of the spell.
It's got to be worried. Just Goblin Guide swings. That if you're just going to swing 1 creature, Goblin Guide's kind of a weird choice.
I wholeheartedly agree.
You see Samuel getting a free card there. Goes to -1, though. It all works out.
Getting a little fancy there.
Curd Ape. It's got exactly 10 power on the board, so the next turn's swing is lethal. But now we go to Samuel Jadin. Unlife's in play. Can he all he needs is 1 ad nauseum. That should do it. Never going to end up using any of those Simian Spirit Guides, I guess.
He will. Not to cast ad nauseum.
Oh, I like the Spoils of the Vault. The things you can do with Phyrexian Unlife in play.
1 mana Demonic Tutor.
Yeah, I believe he's going to get ad nauseum here. So he's just going to take 1. He's going to lose 1 life. Now, there is... Okay, he found out. I was going to say there's a problem if he actually exiled all of his win conditions on the way to find an ad nauseum.
True.
Though very unlikely it could make him unable to win. But he's found it. And now this should be good enough.
And he's facing down 10 points of power on the other side, so he has to go for it.
Pitches 2 Spirit Guides, making double red. Plays ad nauseum with the 2 Spirit Guides, the black mana floating, 2 more lands.
And he still has 2 more Spirit Guides in the deck, which is enough to cast Lightning Storm.
What is that last card in Janny's hand? Samuel now he's going to lose more life. He's now at -6. He's going to be at negative more.
Get that -99 graphic back onto the screen.
I'm going to flip some cards. Not really. I like the Devin Kepke method of pick up the deck.
I think that Janny is actually trying to psych Jadin out here. I think that Jadin proposed pick up the deck, and Janny's saying, no, show me, and forcing him to go through this and not mess up somehow.
Yeah, so here's Lightning Storm, and there's 1 Spirit Guide. As long as there's 1 more Spirit Guide, Samuel wins. I guess Michael wants to see it. Fair enough. There it is. Okay, so we have double red. We have 1 mana. We have a lot of lands. We have Laboratory Maniac.
And I would certainly just quickly show all of my cards here.
I like that he now he has a Pact of Negation. So whatever that card is in Janny's hand, it's not working.
Smooth sailing from here.
Okay, 1 at a time. He drew them all.
I like the play.
Added him up, he's going to lose, I don't know, 100-some life.
It's going to be -99 to -99.
Oh, no, that's -60. Yeah, I'll go with that.
That number seems arbitrary.
No. I can confirm the guys over by the booth, they were meticulously counting during that resolution.
I don't trust those guys.
Spirit Guide pitched by Samuel. 2nd Spirit Guide, that's red. Needs a colorless, got some lands in play. Looking good here for Samuel Jadin. Gonna move to 9-0. Ad nauseum.
Could just cast Laboratory Maniac.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
no,
doesn't have double blue.
we not have double
Don't do
blue.
that. Don't do that. That's a bad play.
Yeah. This is. It's like I don't. Here's Lightning Storm. Mike and 3 plus the number of counters on it. Okay, he's got enough lands. He needs to show 6 lands. Yeah. Okay, that's 6. That's more.
A little overzealous here with the lands. He needs to keep at least 1 in reserves.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so that is 7 charge counters plus 3. This is a 17-point Lightning Storm. Michael's at 15.
I believe that 17 is a larger number than 15.
Checking. Michael does not have a Phyrexian on life in play. You're told him onto that card. Does he have a Lightning Bolt? He's put a blue pact it. Wait. And there we go. That is match. Hold on. Is that?
Wait, so not casting that Curd Ape?
That cost him the game. He drew the Lightning Bolt.
I don't know
So
if
he casts a Curd Ape. Hold on. He has 10 power, and he knows it too.
Do you maybe he thought that Jadin had a sweeper effect in the 75? That play is very curious.
No, that did cost him the match.
Well, anyway, Samuel
Jadin 9-0 with ad nauseam. He defeats Michael Janny and Zoo. He will enter tomorrow from the #1 position at 9-0. Congratulations to him. For Michael Janny, he's going to get a chance for some comebacks. 8-1's a great record for the day.
Oh, yeah. Starting off 8-0 table, that's certainly excellent.